Teaching kids about money is important, but teaching them how to build wealth can set them up for success long after they leave home. So this morning, I'm joined by Eric Hamilton, founder of Hamilton Sales Academy, to give us a few pointers on how to help empower our kids and ourselves when it comes to wealth. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
What a fantastic topic. You know, this is something that's not typically taught in schools. The onus is on the parents, but many of us don't even know where to begin. So when should parents really start talking to their kids about wealth?
You know, that's a really good question. And my thought process is you start earlier than when you think you should. So I recommend starting at 7 and 8 years old. And the important thing about it is not to talk about necessarily investing. It's really to begin to teach these financial skills. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do, is raise children and raise adults, or get to adults that are able to make good financial decisions.
You know, that surprises me, but it makes sense. 7 to 8 years old, that is the beginning. That's the beginning of it. And have the ability at this point to at least understand you.
Yes.
And understand basic concepts of money. So what are some of the more common mistakes that parents make when it comes to talking to their kids about money?
It's a good question. I think a lot of times we avoid the conversation. And that's the biggest thing, is that we just assume it's going to be taught at school, or assume they're going to pick it up somewhere. These are principles that we want to have discussions at home. I think the one thing we don't want to do is avoid having these financial conversations. Just like anything else, the more you talk about it, the more comfortable people get. That's what you want.
I think that's a great point. I was raised in a family where you did not talk about money. No, sir, under any circumstances.
Absolutely.
But as a result, you really are kind of left at a liability.
Yes.
So there's also the whole notion of needs versus wants.
Good question.
That can be a really kind of delicate differentiation there. So how do you help children differentiate between those two concepts?
Good question. And I think you want to keep it simple. When they ask you for something else, so parents at home, when they ask you about something, they want a new something, a toy or whatever it may be, ask the question, is this a need or is this something that you want? That basic question right there will begin to teach them decision-making concepts, and that's ultimately what we want, is to think about the decisions that you're going to make and understand, is this really something I need or it's something that I want?
And I think also kind of recognizing that there may not be shame associated with the want.
Absolutely.
You may want something, and that's okay to want something.
Yes.
But understanding when it comes to prioritizing, the needs are going to always outweigh the wants.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's also talk about the difference between rich and being wealthy. You say that there's a distinction. What is that?
There is. When you think about being rich, that's associated with an income. When you think about wealthy, that's associated with freedom. Big difference between the two. You got rich and you got wealth. So the concept behind it is you can make a lot of money and live paycheck to paycheck. I've got a great income, I live paycheck to paycheck. That's rich. From a wealth standpoint, wealth opens up options and flexibilities for you. A little bit different, making your money work for you as opposed to you working for the money.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So we know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. And some of us are not as informed or educated when it comes to money. So how can you become more self-informed so that then you can pass that on to your children?
You know, we live in a day and age now that we have access to just about anything we want on the World Wide Web. There are tremendous amounts of YouTube videos and other things that are out there, resources to help us become more educated. And similar to what I did with my son, my youngest son, is as I learned something, I talked to him about it. I wasn't an expert, we're just talking about it. And eventually I learned more, he learned more. Now we've got custodial accounts and other things that we'll probably get into, but it starts with being intentional about learning financial literacy.
Well, speaking of that then, okay, understanding that there is a wealth of knowledge on the web, and that certainly you can become self-informed, but what about a financial counselor or just somebody kind of an investor? Is that something that you recommend, aligning yourself with a financial advisor?
I do. I think there's two concepts behind it. I think there's one that can help you reduce your debt or get out of debt. A lot of people have a lot of credit card debts. I think there's certain advisors that concentrate on that. Tony Robbins has a really good course behind that, but a lot of courses that you can do behind that. The second one is when you actually get a wealth advisor, they can help you manage your money to grow your money. So you've got one where I have to reduce my debt so that I can start investing the right way. And then you've got a second financial advisor that can help you grow it.
And also, you have a partner in that. These
Yes,
are important
yes.
topics. This is something that you
Absolutely.
need to know.
Yes.
And also, when it comes to passing on the information,
Yes.
there's something to say about passing on the wealth, setting up accounts, college accounts.
Yes.
Tell me about the importance of that and involving your kids in that process.
Yeah, I think as we learn these things, we talk to our kids about it. So you mentioned some ways that we could potentially do some accounts. There's custodial accounts. That's the easiest way to begin to help your child learn about growing money, growing wealth, and talking about wealth. So there's things.
So people who don't know what a custodial account is, how would you
Yes,
define it?
I'm sorry. So it's an account that a young person, you can open up for them as early as, I think it's 13, and they can't touch that money until they get 18. So you are driving it, but you could be driving it with your kid.
And also, your child has the opportunity to see how that money grows.
Yes.
Great information. Where can we learn more about you?
Absolutely. So Eric Hamilton, you can find me on social media at Eric Hamilton Sales Blueprint, as well as my website, thesalesblueprintforsuccess.com.
Great topic and a wonderful topic of discussion this summer. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
You.